Are you an adventurer looking to take your hunt to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to East Meets West Hunt with your host, Beau Martonik.
I was going to go ahead and do the intro. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you got it, dog. You got it. It's your show.
You started doing the intro before I hit record.
It sounded pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I think he's watched your shows a time or two. And
All right,
listen.
Josh, let's hear it.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to the next episode of East Meets West podcast. I'm joined today by Beau Martonik, your host, Zack Marcum with the Untamed, and myself, Josh Ilderton with the Untamed.
I'm joined by the whole Untamed, well, not the whole Untamed crew, but Zach's a new guest on here. Josh
We've
has
been
on a
trying to
bunch.
get Zack on.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's funny. I kind of gave up. And then all of a sudden you're like, you got another headset? And I'm like, why? And he's like, Zach's coming. I was like,
Well,
okay.
he decided not to warm leg it this evening.
Yeah.
He does a lot of warm legging, and it gets into podcast time and hunting time, and
Well, me and Beau have been trying to catch up with each other the last
probably a
couple
years.
times.
Yeah.
The last couple times he's been down here in southern West Virginia.
Yeah. I thought Zach and I were going to become friends, and he just keeps avoiding me.
Ghosting.
I'm like, this is my second hometown
Yeah.
at this point.
I think the last time we had dinner was right?
That was in 2021.
Yeah, that was the last time we got up with each other here.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we spent some time in Nashville together, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's true. Last year I ran into you on the lease, but it was just you were going out to hunt.
Yeah,
I was going to hunt.
usually, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But it's good to be back down here. It's funny that in 2021, when you invited me down here, I thought it was kind of like a one-time thing coming down, and next thing you know, I'm trying to get my residency.
Yeah, hell, I thought you was moving down here last year.
I know. This year though, I didn't get down here in October like I had planned it. I really wanted to come down, and then I got focused on a deer in Pennsylvania and thinking I could kill him in October, and it just kept going day by day, and then next ththing you know, I'm like, all right, I gotta cut it off, and I need to go down to West Virginia. Like I had all these plans. Like I only had 3 cameras up or whatever here, or 4, I guess, and wanted to switch out a couple of the conventional ones for some cell cameras and everything, and just I don't even know if one of them batteries are good or not. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. It's fun to come down here for me and just get out there and hunt a little differently. Like I was telling Josh, Zack, I'd been sitting in a tree for 16 days straight. When I came down here, I was like, I want to do some ground hunting.
Yeah. A little change of scenery.
Yeah, I just want to do something a little different.
Yeah.
So the mountains in PA doesn't permit like ground hunting
I mean, you can
with bow?
you can ground hunt. I mean, my dad's killed probably half of his deer off the ground, but it's not spot and stalk. More so, it's at least the way he does it is just still hunting and sneaking, coming through, and then like during the rut, he'll go into these clear cuts and these real thick areas and walk the logging roads, and then start snapping branches and grunting, and I can't tell you how many deer he shot frontal at less than 10 yards, coming in at him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his strategy.
I mean, it's the same way that I hunt timber down here.
Yeah, it's the same way when you hunt the timber. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I haven't hunted the timber with you, but when we were scouting, you were kind of explaining how you.
Yeah, it's more of a still hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of just sneaking and
Listening.
Listening's the biggest part of it.
The hardest part for me with doing that is always like knowing when to go fast, when to go slow. Like that's been something that's taken me a while to learn, and I definitely don't have it mastered by any means. But it's just like trying to cover the dead space. Because if you go extremely slow the whole day, you don't get anywhere. But I don't know. What are your thoughts at?
Oh no, I mean speed and tempo. I always say to move slow but deliberate. You know what I mean? You want to stay at a pace but if I see through a bowl or a holler or drainage, and I glass it good and I feel comfortable, then I'm busting it through to the next point to where I'm
Yep.
glassing and sitting still for a while again and listening. But if I feel good about that drain or what I can see, I get on through there and then start slowing down again and then listening. Biggest thing hunting timber now, it's what I was telling Zack. I mean, I hunted hard here the last 2 or 3 weeks, and even in the days it's been real crunchy. I mean, I don't know if you saw the forest fires. This is the second go around forest fires. They got put out last week in the storms, and they fired right back up.
Is that what that's the
haze?
Yeah, the haze and stuff yesterday.
Yeah, and
That was terrible.
yeah, it was way worse last week. I mean,
Really?
the whole lease was smoky.
I could smell it. I didn't
Yeah.
know if it was something from the mines or what
Nah,
was
it's
going on.
Forest fires. But last week it was real crunchy, and I ground hunted. And then I can't remember if I ground hunted this week. But
You did the day before I came down, so it would have been on Monday. You did.
yeah, so it's you get out there and it's so crunchy that you're not really moving. You're just listening, and you really this time of year with this rut, it's the mid-November.
That's what you're listening for.
That's exactly right. You listen for chasing, and you can usually hear that whole top third of the hillside. Mm-hmm. If you're hunting the ridge, you'll hear either the full on chasing, you hear the grunting. But I haven't been successful with any of that. That my whole year's felt like a struggle.
Yeah.
It's in the past, like this year, I have struggled to see big deer. In the past, I always seem to be able to find them, and see them. Now, whether I get to capitalize on them or not, it's on me. But I've struggled to even see big deer this year that we want to shoot. I mean, we've seen deer, and I've like last Wednesday when I called you and told you that there was some movement. I think I saw 4, 135 to 145 inch deer within a span of like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Chasing and really acting like the rut. But like that's the only day that I've seen the rut, and that was on the 8th.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's the only, I mean, heard grunting this morning, but that was a year and a half old, just walking around grunting.
Yeah, you guys always seem to be a little bit behind us in PA, although I feel like we're kind of catching up a little bit. I was talking to my dad about it and everybody before I came down here that it seems like in the last 5 years especially, the big deer, like the biggest of the big, are always moving from like this 13th, 14th through the 20th. Our season ends this Friday. So like even past our season into our bear season, which opens up Saturday, it's like that's when the biggest ones, like especially for my cameras, because normally the last couple of years I've been down here, and then before that I was working, so I'd only take off the first or the second week in November or whatever, and I didn't hunt it a whole lot. But my cameras are like the biggest one in every area would move between like the 14th and the 20th, somewhere in that range, just middle of the day, just zombie walking, that type of stuff going on. But I mean, these 2 weeks in PA, it was like, for me, I did see the one I was chasing, and then saw another good one that I ended up getting a shot opportunity at, but that was the only really mature deer that I had seen. I did see a 4-year-old that I don't want to say I passed on it because it was a quick opportunity, but I think I could have made it work out of the tree. And he was a good deer that I would have probably shot, but it was like, day 2 of, I knew I had 2 weeks to hunt, and I'm like, oh, I'm chasing this big one. If I kill good deer, I can't kill great deer. And then, the end of the last week, I'm like, I really want that good deer to show back up, Yeah. It's kind of one of those things, but I don't know. It's been a struggle for me too. I mean, I had the best year that I've ever had for seeing bucks. I've seen a record number of spikes and a bunch of scrubs and smaller deer. and just rut activity like crazy. But in Pennsylvania, I hadn't seen. I don't know if I saw any that were actually seeking or like just like cruising. Everything I was seeing was either full blown chasing or bucks that were lagging the chase that were coming through, 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later. But
that's tough too. I mean,
yeah,
the seeking is that's the part that you want to catch.
Yeah,
that full blown, especially when you got a stick and string in your hand. That full blown, wide open chase is hard to deal with
because you don't know where they're going to go.
You don't know where they're going to go. You might sit there days upon days, not see nothing, and then just they blast through there on you. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, we've been in the woods every day in different areas. The area that he and Shelby are hunting in, I mean, that's probably been the most activity that we've.
It's definitely the hottest place
that we've seen, and it's on the other side of the county. But that's I mean, we always see that every year, though. Different parts of the county are hitting, and different deer are hitting than where we're at. But even if we're at, it's been very spotty, and I don't know if it's because of the vastness of it, the amount of does we have.
Yeah,
that they don't have to move as much.
Well, I think that definitely plays a big factor in it.
I mean, there's been some bucks killed. It seems like that there was deer seen yesterday and today.
Yeah.
So it might be like you said, we're behind and it's starting to get good. But I honestly think like you take last week, like the 5th or 6th, there always seems to be good activity there. And then went through like the 8th. And then from like the 9th to yesterday, it was like they had a lockdown phase.
Yep.
Didn't see much.
And they tended and stayed with the does that they hit early. And didn't, I mean, cameras were dead. I mean, when you check a couple of those valley fields that we hunt, you can go check those in the morning. It would pretty much tell you what the deer movement is.
Yeah.
Everywhere else. If there's no deer in a couple of the valley fields, then you're probably not going to see very many deer.
I was just telling Josh when he's down here filming, I was telling him about the area and stuff, and I said that I was like yesterday when I was glassing the one valley field, I was like, I saw over a dozen does, a couple small bucks, but they weren't even like harassing the does, and I was like in that spot, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then it seemed like in the afternoon things started picking up a little bit in some other places, some more cruising going on, and then today there was seemed to be even a little bit more, even though the weather was hot, but it was just like, but still in that, and I guess I didn't glass that this morning to really be able to tell.
Sean did.
Oh, Sean did?
There was 2 does in that valley field this morning.
Well, yeah, and that was something that you had taught me was from that. You're like, when you watch, you continually go back and check these valley fills to see, because then it's like, all right, now the does are there, so eventually those bucks are going to show up. And I remember last year when I was here, you'd already killed your buck, and I think you were hunting with Brody, your son, and I was down here by myself. And I remember that last day that I was down here, it was like madness going on. There was bucks just locking up and fighting and all this stuff going on, and there just wasn't any shooters in there. There's one I wanted to shoot, and I tried to stretch him until I got close and stalked in. I was like, but what are you doing? You're trying to make him something that he's not going to be till next year.
We've all been there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Hit the plus sign one too many times on the calculator.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Yeah, yeah. And we've talked about it on here before, but our lease, like having a minimum for an 8 point of 140 inches or anything that has more than 8 points of 150 inches. That's a really big deer, no matter how you look at it.
Absolutely.
And that's hard to be able to find. The thing is the area has so much potential to do that. And I mean, I think I'm even seeing it just after a couple years of being here, and this is the second year having that rule implemented, seeing some more big ones, especially in the last few days, kind of and some of the ones guys are killing.
What is your you know, you're on the property all the time like me, and have been on the property like in the past before we even had the lease. We hunted that property. But you've been down here 3 years. We won't talk about the acreage we have. How many 150s do you think is on the lease? 150s plus.
20.
Do you think that there's that many?
I think there probably is. In totality, you know.
I mean, I think 4 of them got killed already.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I
don't
seen
know.
That many.
I don't know. I was just thinking. I'm thinking, what's your opinion? Because I think when you have a minimum of that 150, I mean, and what we're trying to do, that we all know 150 inches of bone is a lot of bone.
Well, the thing, and with me saying that, I have none of them on my camera.
But you,
it's just an educated guess,
Yeah.
Beau.
Yeah, it's just
a guesstimation.
I'm just like saying, you know, like I don't know.
I would say you're close. I mean, in my opinion, me and Josh have talked about it here recently, and you know, just based off of what we know,
Yeah.
as in like hard evidence know, what we come up with like 7.
Yeah, but I my opinion is there's 1 per 1,000.
1 per 1,000 acres.
I do. That's, and there could now. Sorry about spraying y'all. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot. But that's kind of my estimate. Now, 125 to 140 inch. There's oodles and boodles of them. It's only going to get better and better. I mean,
That's what we've seen in
last year.
Just
I mean,
just
2
from last
years.
year. Just from last year to this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen, you know, last year me and Josh was like, God, we've got gobs. I mean, just on our cameras alone and what we've seen out hunting, got gobs of 120-inch deer. 150.
Yeah.
Nice, pretty little, say, 2- and 3-year-old bucks. Well, this year, it's basically the same thing, but we're seeing they're the ones that you're talking about. You just want to stretch just a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, ugh. So next year, you know, the 3rd year should really see things pop.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple. The deer that you seen get shot yesterday.
Yeah.
That deer, he was all over me last year, late season.
And then I've had him all this year.
Yeah.
And he's had him down there.
Last year he was 135. This year he's probably, I didn't need to see him. I guess you've seen him. He's probably, I thought he was, just based off pictures, I thought he was mid 150s, low 150s.
That's what I would have thought. After seeing him in the tailgate, I'd say high 140s.
Yeah.
Mid to high 140s.
That's what Wes told me. He told me today it was mid 140s.
Well,
and
it looked like, I mean, he was really weak out there on his crabs.
Where I think he didn't have mass.
Yeah.
Like that was, and like that's a really good deer. Like I mean, his frame was great, and that's what. And I told Josh, I said, if that would have been me in there, I would 100% thought that, and it was almost going to be me.
Yeah, right.
I literally, for anyone that's listening, I filmed it through my spotting scope. I'm like, big buck, and I have my phone scope on and video, and I didn't have my base plate for my spotting scope, so I'm holding it on my tripod, trying to focus in, and I'm shaking all over the
I think
place.
a little nerves was getting to you there too.
Hey, hold on. And then I look.
First day in WV, by God, he thought he was going to close the deal.
I was like, I'm 45
Hey,
minutes in. Here we go.
We talked about that yesterday, too.
Like the luck's coming down. Here we go. It's year 3. This is the closing of the story. That deer was dead before I knew it, and it really was because
And he felt bad. He called me last night, texted me, called me today. He said, I thought for sure it was 150. I was like, dude, I've looked at that deer, and I'm telling you in the heat of the moment, that's one of those deer.
Oh, we talked about it. I mean,
we said if that deer made it over there, during these 2 weeks that he would get killed. Zach and I said that a month ago.
Because, I mean, if you're not sitting there just... And like I said, I looked at the pictures of him. I mean, we had gobs of pictures of him. And I still, in my mind, I thought he was low 150s, looking at truck camera pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a deer like that, spotting stalking on the ground during a rut.
That's right.
Something happens like that.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
And that's what I told Wes. I
we
mean,
knew
the
he was that deer.
Heat of the moment.
And there's
Even
several
you.
of them.
You're like, hey, I got a shooter.
Oh yeah, I sent Josh.
Hey,
the
something
picture.
happened, man. He just took off running. I'm not even close to him.
Yeah,
He's like, hey, I think he got shot.
well, no, yeah. I go. He took off running. I was like, he took off running like he was shot. But I really didn't think that he actually got shot.
But
I was like, I gotta move. I was like, I gotta get around. I went back to my truck and went to move and get up on another knob to glass back at this face. And I happened to run into a guy that was working up there, and I was just talking to him. And he's like, "Oh, did you see the big white horn 10-point?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually looking for him right now." And he's like, "Oh, he's always over here," and blah, blah, blah. And then another truck pulls up, which happened to be the guy that shot it. And he's talking, and he says something about a 10-point. And I'm like, yeah, I said, I was kind of saying it as like, hey, I'm going to be in this, area sort of deal. I said, there's a buck I'm after. He's over here. He's like, well, I'm pretty sure I just shot him. I was like, no shit. So I pull out my phone and I show him the video. He's like, I'm right below your screen at that point. And he's like, you see him looking back? He goes, he knew I was there. Yeah, he knew I was there. And I was like, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I was like, yeah, so that was, and then I come around and Mark's got a big one in the back of the truck. So I went and took pictures for him, and I'm like, I'm around a whole lot of dead big deer.
You done the same thing last year too.
I did.
You jumped right in with Bucky.
Yeah, 2 years. Yeah. Bucky the year before too.
Yeah, 2 years in a row with Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky already said he was waiting for me to come before he shoots.
Good luck.
One. Yeah.
I think that between Bucky and me and Zack, and we've all struggled.
Yeah.
Just to find.
That's been my struggle is finding. I mean, I found gobs of deer, seen gobs of deer, but finding that one, I've got several that's borderline, but finding that one, I just haven't.
It's trying to find the deer that you look at and you say, he's a shooter.
Like there's no adding inches, no counting fingers.
Yeah, there's no double takes, and there's like, and I really think that we will really enjoy the fruits of the labor next year and the year after.
Yeah,
because you'll have deer that are 5.5, 6 years old. And that's really when they're going to blow up. That's the problem. That's the only problem with those mediocre bucks. Those that not mediocre because they're great bucks. Just like the one that was killed yesterday, stud of a buck. I'm happy with 140-inch deer all the time. I've always been an opportunist. But we just felt like putting minimums on the lease to try to manage for big bucks. And grow,
Well, you have an opportunity to do it, so there's no sense in not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
it's pretty rare to have a large chunk of land that you have
that's
control
exactly
over.
Right. You have that large chunk of land that you can, if you got 100 acres, and you've got you've got 150-inch minimum on it, and then everybody around you is just shooting the shit out of everything. You know what I mean? It's not going to benefit. You're not going to be able to hold them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to have the tract of land that we've got, we can benefit from it. It's going to take a few down years, but
that's right.
In the end, you could benefit because you've got enough land to keep the outskirts. Obviously you're going to lose some on the outskirts, but majority is going to. You're going to keep.
Yeah.
If we can keep the lease and we could have in I firmly believe in 3 to 4 years we could have a state record.
Well, I feel like
the genetics are there. We just have to give them the time.
Yeah,
the time, and I mean I feel like just like we was talking about. You've got this year. last year it was 115, 120, 2 and 3 year olds. This year it's 3 and 4 year olds that are 130s, 140s, 150. And in a year, 2 more years, you're going to see there's going to be there's potential for multiple booners.
That's right.
Running around. Not just one that everybody's chasing, but potential to have multiple.
Because like right now, I would say it'd be, there's probably a booner on the property just because of the vastness. I haven't seen him, and nor have I heard about a booner. Most people are going to keep that secret, but
yeah, I'm not saying anything.
You're not going to tell us, Beau?
Beau's
like, I'm only down here for like 4 days. I am not telling y'all.
Yeah.
No.
But you could have in 2 or 3 years, you could have multiple booners like you got multiple 150s right now.
It will definitely make for a fun time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun time now.
Oh, Josh is down here filming, and he also lives in Pennsylvania, so came down, and tonight, half hour before dark, we glassed up 150 some inch deer, and he was just out there bumping does around and doing everything, and I went in for a stalk. But looking back, I probably really didn't have a prayer because he was on a mission. He hit 3 doe groups in 15 minutes.
Oh, he
went checked, and they weren't ready, and he's just like, heads up, hits this one. He's like, little sniff around, and just like was going.
Literally cruising.
Literally cruising. But like we saw that, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm, now I've come here and have a little bit of more of expectations, like that's possible. But growing up in Pennsylvania, it's like that's a once in a lifetime buck, right, to be able to see, even see that and be able to chase it. And it was just like wild that there he is, and he just shows up, and I just see these white horns sticking out of the ditch, and it's just so wild too. Like when you look at that country and that reclaim mine country,
that's the ticket.
What's that?
The reclaim mines.
Yeah. Well, because it looks so open, but it's not. It's so thick, and you can look at the same country for 3 hours, and then all of a sudden a deer just pops up in the middle of it, and you're like, what?
Where'd they come?
Like, even if you're focused and you're looking down and you're doing, man, I
told Caden that
blows my mind.
Was up there glassing, and I said, you walked over. Me and Caden had been sitting there, or me and Jacob had been sitting there for an hour looking at this one face. Josh he's over on this backside, so he gets done. He comes over to us. He's like, "Y'all see anything?" No. He sits down in literally a minute. He says, "Oh, there's a deer," and I look over there, bare-eyed, and I can see this deer plain as day. And I was like, "Where did that come from?"
Yeah.
I mean, because it just moved to a particular way, and the sun hit, and then just there it is. But like you said, it looks open, but it's not. They have plenty of hiding spots. But what I was referring to there, meaning like the reclaim makes a difference. Before that, it was just big timber.
Yeah.
And to get on the ground and have the opportunities like you said you and Josh had there this evening, you didn't have very many of them opportunities, because you was in big timber.
Yeah.
But now, with them reclaims, it just opens up enough visual to where you can have them opportunities.
Yeah.
That's what we was talking about at lunch, that mining has done such positive things for the wildlife habitat here.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I've not hunted areas, whitetail hunted areas that a lot of people have, but I can't imagine. I do know that the guys from THP have been here, and they've hunted all over the country hunting whitetails, and like they go on and on about the habitat here and the vegetation for whitetail habitat. And I think that's been a huge plus for the mining.
Our intern, he's pretty knowledgeable about. He's from Mississippi, and he's all into that.
Yeah, he's a biologist.
Yeah, and he's all into proteins in it. I mean, I walked up with a bunch of birds and I was cussing these birds. He's like, dude, don't cuss them. I was like, what do you mean? He said, you know, that's like 20% protein. I was like, what? And he named it off what its scientific name was. And so he's pretty knowledgeable about that kind of stuff. And he was like, dude, he said, it's amazing. He said, the stuff that you all have naturally growing here that he said, we will fertilize and everything to try to get to grow in Mississippi for the deer.
Well, yeah. And also one of the things that I've noticed is like with a lot of these things, and correct me if I'm not using the right terms, but when you go through and you reclaim the stuff or you put in a road and you don't want it to be a road anymore, it's planted with clover.
Yeah, a lot of the wildlife mix is mainly clover, and then it has the winter weeds, the rye, and then it's a mix of red, white clover, and then longleaf doesn't. I've tried to plant longleaf brassicas and rapes and stuff. They're very hard to grow here. Turnips do good in this vegetation, and clover does spectacular.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you think about, you was talking about being able to see. You take a valley field. A lot of people, I don't know, don't know what a valley field is.
Explain what that is.
It's actually a valley or a holler that's been filled by the coal company, and to be able to set in one spot and actually glass that entire head of, say, a holler, you can't do that anywhere else.
No, you can't.
In PA, you can sit there on Onyx and you can look and you see you're on, you're looking at the head of a holler or a big valley, but as far as actually seeing it all, you can't see it.
No, you can't see it.
That goes back to like Josh was talking about earlier. They dictate what the morning's going to hold. A lot of times you go to them valley fields and you're like, well, the deer's moving, because you can see that big of an area from one spot and you can see what's going on.
Yeah. No, and it's a funny story about the term valley fill. When I first came down here,
it a field.
It took me 2 years because
Zack
I wasn't understanding.
When he was down
Josh
in
Zack's.
Oh man, I just thought it was you.
See, when I was younger, I
didn't know it was my dialect.
You say valley feel, and I was like valley field, and I'm like, I'm searching on Google, it's like then all of a sudden it's like number 10 down there, valley fill. I'm like,
Farrenball when he was down the valley. When he come down this summer and we went out and did that interactive podcast.
Yeah, that was really good, by the way.
And that was the first question we were going up. He's like, hey, man, it could be you. It could be me. But I'm not understanding what you're saying. He said, are you saying Valley Field? I was like, no, Valley Field. He said, so Keith Robinson said, a field. I was like, no, a Valley Field, like F-I-L-L, like you feel something. They filled it up. They filled the valley up, so it's a Valley Field. With the overburden from the mining. So he was like, oh, it makes perfect sense.
Oh, my brother because when I was younger, he's 4 years older than me, so he was more into the mining and stuff before I was. But I was still hunting, up there all the time and stuff. And he's like, I would call it a valley field. That's just what we called it. And it would just torment him. He'd be like, no, it's a valley field. I'm like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
But I finally figured it out and got, figured out why it was called that.
Yeah, it's just terminology.
I'm trying to figure out where the line that the accent starts, because like we're really not that far apart. And
I can tell you where it starts.
Where's it start?
Morgantown, West Virginia.
Route 50. Clarksburg.
Is that where it starts?
Yeah, that's the cutoff. That's
to see what happens is, I don't know if you know this or not, but like out of state, New Jersey, PA, out of state tuition at WVU is cheaper than a lot of in-state tuition for them guys, for Jersey guys and even PA guys. So they all bombard WVU because it's just cheaper tuition for them. Mm-hmm. And so that, I think that bleeds over, because I've got guys that I went to school with down here in Logan. They go to WVU. They come back from like for fall break or like Thanksgiving or something, and they're completely sound like Beau. I'm like, what the hell? You just left 3 months ago and you come back sound like Beau. What's going on here?
Beau don't know.
I'm like, so yeah, I think it's definitely right there around what he's saying. Route 50 is it's right there, pretty much Morgantown, West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wondered that because I've even went further south and it's not the same accent. But I don't know. Everyone says that like my area of Pennsylvania that we have a Canadian accent, but then then Pittsburgh just has their own accent. The Yinzers.
Is that the Ewans?
Yins.
Yins?
Yeah, Yins, Yin.
Yeah.
We've got a neighbor.
John Eagle.
Yeah.
We've got a neighbor in Tennessee down there that's what we call him is Yuns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that's like he's a super great guy, but that's what he says like all the time. It's Yuns got a nice boat over there. Yuns had a big deer in the yard the other day.
Yeah.
That's just part of it, I guess.
Yeah. No, it's funny. But, going back to the deer thing, one thing also that happened yesterday was one of those days that could have been epic for me that just didn't pan out. So, I'm the photographer. I'm taking these pictures, catching up with some guys on the lease I hadn't seen in a year, having lunch. I'm like, better get up to my spot. I said, I know these bucks traveled through here during the rut. It's a Topo hub last year during these dates. It was money, but I wasn't sitting here.
There.
So I go up there. I get up there and I'm walking in and my cell cam goes off and the buck that I was there to hunt was walking through there. And so 15 minutes later, I'm sitting there, but 2:00 in the afternoon, it just goes right through. I'm like, he's 140 something, 140 inch 8-point or whatever. He looks the exact same as last year.
Yeah.
We're all hunting.
I remember him.
The same area.
That's you know what's crazy is that up there on top. Like, why would a deer be up there? But they are.
They are, yeah.
But you would think because that's the highest knob around, basically.
Yeah.
You would think, they would be more down on them benches below on either side.
Yeah.
But they're not. They run that ridge line.
I think they run that ridge line this time of year because that's a east-west ridge, right? Or is that a north-south?
That's a north-south
Is it
ridge.
a north-south ridge? So they're probably running that ridge on the easterly or westerly wind right now, just cruising, catching as much as they can, and then they dive off.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you guys have cameras below me, and we were just talking, yesterday about that specific deer hit 2 of my cameras and
showed up at ours
and then
twice.
showed at yours twice and actually hit one of mine twice. And we were looking at the timestamps, and it was like he just went, run down, went up, back across, and it was.
He ran the route twice yesterday. He made that circle.
Made that same circle.
Made the same
then
circle.
here comes old Beau running in. He's done by that point. He's like, I gotta lay down. I've been running all day up here. I gotta stop. But one thing I think too, and it was something also I learned yesterday by accident, but I was trying to figure out a place because I couldn't get in a tree anywhere, so I was like trying to set up on the ground, tuck into some brush, and there was a berm before it dropped off real steep, and I jumped up on that berm, and my thermals were pulling down. It was shaded there, and 3 does blew out about 100 foot down, bedded on some real steep stuff on this side hill, and I'm like, thinking about it during the day, the thermals are blowing up and stuff, that buck can cruise that top, smell everything down below him, and if he smells something he wants to taste, he drops down over, right, and like is able to do that, and that made a little bit of sense as
and
far
he stays up there out of danger. He's got the best visual, everything up there.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, it's pretty interesting, and like
until Beau hides in a bush.
Oh man, it was. Me and Josh went there this morning, and we saw the doe that I've been looking for. You probably know her, piebald doe. last year at this time she came into heat,
and she got. That's the doe that
Bucky,
got Bucky.
that
Buck killed.
Yeah, they got Bucky. So I'm like watching her like a hawk. I'm like, she's in my area.
That's you.
The boys are coming to town.
That's my bitch.
So like, she's I saw her. I gave her a little wave. She might have took off. Maybe she saw me. She definitely saw me. She was sitting there in front of the blind. When we were sneaking in at light. It was like, because it's kind of one of those spots. Josh was actually the one that was telling me, he's like, maybe might want to go in at light there at first, because you don't know where the deer are on the ridge at that point, where at least you can kind of play the wind a little bit when it's light and kind of hunt your way in.
Right.
And she just happened to be hanging out there at that time, and she looked back, and I was like, and then my camera had showed there was actually 4 bucks there right at shooting light. Or a little bit before. I couldn't tell if the one was there was an 8 there that looked good, but my camera's kind of far away from the trail, so you couldn't really exactly tell. But they were all heading out off the ridge of the points at that point, so I don't know where they exactly would have went from there. But we sat until 11 or whatever and didn't see anything. But yeah, I saw her and I was like, all right, we're in the chips right now. This is.
Well, that's the same thing I did this morning. I went in at gray light just to be able to see and then pick out. Once I got to the area I was going to hunt, drop milkweed and see exactly what the wind was doing, because it was kind of funky, because I was needing more easterly and it was kind of blowing more. It was southeast, but there was some gust of strong south. But it worked out because we had those deer. I mean, we got caught with our pants down. We were climbing the tree, and Caden was on the ground, and I was like, hey, I hear a deer over here. They were running. And I heard a grunt. And I was like, hook my bow up, get the camera ready. And I was jerking the bow up, and the bow was halfway up, and he said, he's on the berm. I said, get the camera. I said, I'll get my bow up. And then he kind of went over the berm, and then I said, come on, get up here. So Caden got halfway up the tree, and I said, stop, get the camera. So Caden's hanging off the sticks.
We had this exact scenario, me and Shelby, but it was vice versa.
Yeah.
Really?
Shelby was coming up, and I was already up, and I was like, come on. And then I was like, oh, stop. Come on.
Yeah, today they did. And so, but it was a good morning. I mean, there's a group of does that have stayed on that ridge for, 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah, they've been laying in there.
And there's not been any chasing. And, this is the time, like you expect, for a shooter to show up.
Big mooey just come walking.
Out of that woods and come and check those does. And that's the only thing I'm betting on. I mean, like I said, it's I've struggled for sure. I mean, mentally, sleep deprivation, been sick the last 4 or 5 days, just getting over it, and still hunting. It's like I talked to you, and it's like, can you try to hunt too hard? Can you try too hard? I mean, is there such a thing?
Well, we've always even said that turkey hunting. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been several times me and him both have been like, hey, we're going to back up and punt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we've just been grind, and the turkeys are there, and you're just, then you start seeing yourself making mistakes that you normally wouldn't. You start pushing and doing stuff that you look back and you're like, why the hell did I do that? That was dumb. You know what I mean? Not so much like in your case like this evening, but like you said, looking back now, shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Probably catch that buck. But, you knew that. You see that now, but like,
and I played it safe.
It really wasn't. That's exactly.
Yeah,
you didn't make a mistake.
I made sure my wind was good, and that's what. And when Josh was up there watching me, he's like, "Man, I thought you would have been over to this spot quicker." And it was just like, I just couldn't get to a spot where I didn't think they were either going to see me or smell me. So I was just like continually bouncing, and I was like, and I realized I wasn't really getting anywhere. But I was like, if I just stay in the game, who knows? He could kick a doe back, and they run this way, and I just kind of hung out on the fringes. And
the thing that you're hoping, you saw him at dark this evening. You're going to see, he's probably going to be in there in the morning.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to be checking the same sets of does that he was checking this evening to see if one of them is coming heat. And one of them is
he'll be right in there.
Yeah, he's going to be right in that same area in the morning. I mean, that's what he's going to run. Now, if you would have just blasted your way in there on the ground and blowed him out scent bumping, not saying that deer's not going to come back. I've never said that, because I think that the deer, when you scent bump them or if you sight bump them out, I don't think that those deer, everybody says, oh, they ran out of the county. No, they ran to safety. They ran as far as you would run if something was running you, and as soon as that stopped running you, you'd stop.
Yeah.
And that's what but I feel like if scent bumping them, that deer might not have come back to that area tomorrow. He'll be back maybe Friday.
Well, yeah, and think about it. It's like, all right, you go to...
So you didn't bombard. You didn't just...
You go to
the difference in bumping one and pushing.
Yeah.
Well, you go to a bar, and it's like, all right, one guy starts, talking shit to you and starts getting in your face and going stuff. You don't just abandon that bar altogether. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, you might... think about it a few days and be like, all right.
But if you go back a couple more times and it's the same scenario.
Yeah, you start getting harassed, you start getting bullied. Well, maybe I'm gonna go to a different bar.
Yeah.
And hang out. You know what I mean? Like that's or you stand up and fight. And I'd love a buck to have that attitude, but that's normally not the case with whitetails.
That's right.
But no, I and one thing I think I learned a lot this year, because I did bump some deer in Pennsylvania, but it didn't seem to bother them from sound in sight, even more so. The wind seems to me affect them a little bit more than sound or sight.
I think that if you bump on sound or sight, that buck's going to probably be right there.
Yeah.
I think it's more detrimental when you scent bump them.
Mm-hmm.
That affects them more, and they'll be gone. They're not leaving the country. They're coming back there, but it might be 2-3 days before they're back on a scent if they catch your scent. That's why, talking about scent's just a whole different thing. But, when you're on the ground, you learn this after 3 years, that if you're not continuously checking the wind and the thermals, like, you're out.
Yeah.
It just amazes me. People, and there's a lot of people that don't really know or check the thermals, and you know what I mean? Like they just, it's just like Josh's deer last year that he killed. If I would show you on a map a wind direction and where he killed that deer at, and what wind direction that was that particular evening, you'd say there's no way he killed that deer there. But when you throw a piece of milkweed out and watch what it done that evening, it would, like he said, it would go out.
It blow right to him. Maybe I had 25 yards. It'd go to him 10 yards, and it'd dive down, and it'd suck right back under me.
Yeah.
There all evening from what the deer started moving at 3 o'clock. A deer never smelled us because everything was sucking. It would make you nervous. I threw milkweed for 30 minutes before I decided to tree because the shit was just going everywhere. I was taking a whole pouch and I was just throwing it everywhere. And it was just swirling. Alex said, man, we just need to leave. He said, it's bad. And I said, no, we're going to figure it out. And I just kept on dropping it. And when I got to a certain area, to the edge, it started all just sucking down. I said, we're getting in that pawpaw tree right there. He's like, it's blowing right to the knob, to the thicket. I said, it ain't going to ever make it there. and we got up in a tree, and it was crazy. It'd shoot out there to the knob, and it'd suck right back under us and go out.
That's just like this season. I know I texted you about it. I said the wind's blowing right across this pipeline. I'm hunting this big ridge system. It's an old pipeline cut, through there. But the wind, when I first got in there, I checked the wind and it was blowing. It was actually blowing towards the north, which is what we needed. Blowing south would take our wind right across the pipeline, and the deer used that pipeline. So it was, but like hour and a half before dark, the wind kind of picked up, and that's when that south wind that was listed on the Weather Channel, that's where it was coming from. And it wasn't good. But I was debating whether to actually just get down. I kept throwing milkweed, and I was watching it. And I guess where we're right on top of that ridge system, and it's steep on both sides, that milkweed, I would toss it, and it would go straight up. And I could watch it. We was probably 18 feet in a tree, and it would go 30 or 40 feet up in the, I don't know if it was where it was coming, the wind was coming and hitting that ridge where it was steep.
Yeah, like ramping it.
And literally ramping that. But after I seen that, I was like, oh, we're good. And then we literally had deer 10 yards directly what you would think was downwind of us, but throwing that milkweed up in there and then just watching it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, depending on the spot, it's like, and I'm continuously learning it because I don't know a lot of times till I go in and try it. But like some places, I want higher winds because it gives a more consistent prevailing wind. Mm-hmm. And if you're on top, especially if you're on top, for me, I like a steadier wind that's coming across. We had it this morning, and we had the perfect wind all morning, exactly what they were calling for. I mean, to a T where we were at. And but then where in Pennsylvania I like to hunt a lot of creek bottoms. I can't hunt creek bottoms on a high wind because it's just gonna swirl. It's gonna do everything.
All kinds of crazy
and
stuff.
I want just a soft, thermal pull that's coming down and sitting on the water and ripping down there. Where up on top, when it's soft like that and it's not real windy, it starts swirling.
That's right.
It starts swirling. So it's like, it really depends on the situation. And there's a lot of times where I'm completely wrong and just don't know what until I get in there and try it. Like there was the spot and I kind of skipped over it a little bit, and I'll talk about it some more later, but where I had a shot opportunity in Pennsylvania where it was a bottom, but it was a big bottom, real flat, big bottom, beaver pond there, some blowdowns, and the wind was supposed to be coming out northwest, so I got on the southeast side, and I knew does bedded in these blowdowns, but it was pretty windy. But the bottom was wide enough that it wasn't going to create all this, swirling. It was just kind of like a rolling and then just super flat for, 250 yards across that bottom. And, I got set up right on the bank, and it was just pulling right in my face. And that's what happened. That buck came right around the bottom of those blowdowns and came up through. But, the story of that, and Josh heard about it, Zack probably hasn't. And so what ended up happening was it was just getting, there was like 20 minutes of legal shooting light left, but it was getting kind of dark, as it was coming through. And I had heard some crashing going on, just like a bunch of noise and some grunting. And I had been hearing on the other side of the creek, there was two spikes just going at it, which has to be the worst battle. Two spikes, you're going to poke eyeballs
it's
out
rough.
with that kind of stuff. And they were getting after it, but I heard one that sounded like on this side of the creek. So I got out my grunt call and just started going at it with them, and then all of a sudden I hear coming, and he comes across and comes up, and I was like, one of these things where I was like, it's kind of getting a little bit gray light there, and I'm like, yeah, is that a big deer that I want to shoot? And that hesitation, can screw you sometimes. And it came past my perfect spot that I had at like 17 yards. And then I saw these big G2s and good beams. And I'm like, all right, here you go. So I draw back, which is too late to even be drawn back at that point. And he goes up and I stop him, and he ended up being about 24 yards. I thought it was 20, but he was quartering away pretty hard. and I just aimed for that opposite shoulder, and I shot, and I was like, dead deer. He mule kicked, ran out 40 yards, and stops, and he just stopped there for a while, but I couldn't really see him very good. And I'm watching. I knocked another arrow, and I'm like, if I get another opportunity, I'm obviously going to shoot him. And it starts dying down the light a little bit, and all of a sudden I see my nocturnal down at his feet, hanging down. And I'm like, man, did that arrow bounce out of him? Like, what happened? At that point, I didn't know. And he walked around, and I lost him in the blowdowns. And I thought that he might have bedded down. So I waited in that tree 2 hours after dark. And then when the wind really picked up, I just snuck down and just dropped down across the creek, went out. And I was like, I got to give him till morning. It's going to be cold. Came in. Well, I called 3 blood trackers that I know. One wasn't even from the state, but I just want to get his opinion. They're on a ton of blood trails. And I was filming, but typical Beau self-filming. As soon as he went through the frame, and his back leg just got out of it, that's when I shot. Like as he came through, and so I couldn't see, and I started, the reaction, the mule kick, and then he runs out and he stops and then just walks away, and the one guy said to me, he goes, "You hit him in the shoulder," and I was like, "There's no way." I said, I felt so good about that shot. I said, I maybe the opposite shoulder. He's like, "No, I think you hit shoulder." And he's like, "But blood will tell you tomorrow." He's like, "Send me pictures." And the other blood trackers that I had locally weren't available at the time. So I just went in with my dad and my brother the next morning, and we went in. He didn't bed down where I thought he did. I just lost sight of the nocturnal, and he kept walking. Real good blood about right where he stopped, because, I hit from the point of impact, there was no blood, but I knew where he went to. I found the blood. Big piles of it. Sent a picture to Damon, who actually I just had on the podcast there a few weeks ago, Damon Bungard, and he's like, "That's muscle." And he's like, "There's big bubbles in there." He's like, "It's not the little lung blood bubble." He goes, "There's big bubbles, that's muscle." And he's like, "But, obviously keep trying." So I ended up following it for 500 yards. He never slowed down, never stopped, never acted like, and the way he explained to me, it was like, it's like you just punch someone in the shoulder as hard as you can, it stings. He's like, that deer's, most likely, going to be fine.
Yeah.
But I'm still struggling with figuring out where I exactly hit. Because like I said, I was aiming a little ways off the shoulder. I've always, and it doesn't matter really. In my opinion, each broadhead, whether it's fixed or expandable, has their pros and their cons, and you just got to understand it. And I've used fixed my entire life. I use an expandable here, and I think I probably shouldn't have taken that hard quarter away shot, because Lee Ellis, Seek1 was telling me he had the same thing happen, where he believes that he might even have skimmed off the ribs and it went into the shoulder just because of that angle. I don't know. It's all speculation at this point, but from the looks of it, I got like no penetration. It was just like hanging there, like it just hit a brick wall.
Did the golly, the old boy just did a broadhead test on a piece of plywood. You know who I'm talking about, with Kafaru.
Oh, Aaron Snyder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just listened to that.
Yeah.
3-hour podcast.
Did you see the difference, though, when he added a piece of carpet to the plywood?
No, I didn't watch it. You haven't seen it? No, I just listened to the one.
So he shoots at a 30-degree angle.
Okay.
Which is steep.
Yeah.
And they all skip. None of them dig. They all skip in. So, I mean, it'd be like hitting a rib and kind of just deflecting. But, like, when he added a piece of carpet skin, then he started getting penetration. Like, I've never had an expandable. I've shot expandables my whole life. I've never had an expandable deflect off a rib. But I've never shot 30 degrees or more either.
Yeah.
I can see it maybe happening. But, like, when he put a thin piece of carpet like fur on the plywood, it started digging in it.
Yeah.
It's he doesn't do anything half-ass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a he tests like 30 broadheads.
Oh yeah, no.
I mean,
I listened to the
it's,
podcast he did with the other guy, and it went for 3 hours and something. It was super informational.
Yeah.
To be able to, and again, it comes down to, it's like expandables. You know, you're gonna get bigger blood trail, and that's one of the reasons I went to it, because I've been using fixed blades, and I know I can crush shoulders when I need to. But sometimes I have great blood trails. Other times I don't have much of anything, and I just wanted a little bit, more. And so you can kind of go back and forth on that. But I just, man, I don't know. It burns me. And then, like, over the last few years, I've made a few shots like that, and I hate doing that. And I also just hate, like, I don't know. I just feel like I lose so much confidence when that happens. And it's like, not from a lack of practice or anything. And I actually, I didn't feel like I blacked out and, couldn't remember what was going on. Like, in my mind, I thought that deer was as good as dead.
Yeah.
And, listening back, I mean, one thing I did have on footage was having a shotgun mic was the audio. And my dad's like, that was a pretty loud whack. I was like, I don't know. I thought the air was releasing from the lungs. He's like, no, that was the smack.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting to be able to hear back on it. But I don't know if that was kind of a little bit of a crusher there.
So. I mean, that happens though.
When you was talking about broadheads, I know I give Josh down the road all the time over his big expandables. I shoot a fixed blade now. I used to shoot an expandable. Still like expandables, but I had an expandable fail one time, and that's why I went fixed blades.
Yeah.
And failing, I was fortunate enough to recover the animal, but it was the craziest thing, as far as I felt like you with that confidence.
Yep.
There was no question. Like, I smoked this deer. I knew it. Luminoc just disappeared. Perfect right behind the shoulder. And we give him a little bit of time with tracking him. It wasn't what we expected, what I expected. Minimal blood, not good blood. It just got worse and worse and worse, and then ended up jumping this deer. So he jumps, runs about 20 yards, hits a beech tree. Both horns fall off. This is true. Both horns fall off, and then he falls over dead. So anyway, we go get him, and yeah.
Arrow didn't kill him, by God.
No.
The beech tree did.
The beech tree got him.
They'll get you.
Well, we go down there and get him, and I'm careful because I want to see. Like, I'm nosy. We done this with Jay the other day.
Jay's deer.
Yeah, I just and it helps to learn that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. People don't understand. Like, a lot of people just go to gutting, and just whacking. Take your time and see what's in there. You know what I mean? See what you hit. And we done that, and I clipped the very top of the entry side of one lung. This is dead broadside, 30 yards, flat out of a blind on the ground. And I clipped the top of one lung on the entry side. Never did find the broadhead side of the arrow. The arrow broke off, like, say, midway. And I found the fletching end because it had the Luminoc on it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I got it. Found that I'd barely snipped that one lung. And I got the deer laying on his back. And I look, after I get everything out, the broadhead is stuck in the bottom of that deer's spine. Like, as if he was standing on his back legs like a bear would, and you would shoot him right there in the chest. So what happened is when the arrow hit, for some reason, it deflected and went straight up.
Huh.
As it hit the deer, dead broadside, it kicked straight up and stuck in the bottom of that deer's spine. And from that point on, that's when I said, I'm out on expandables.
The reason, I'm confident in expandables is why I shoot them.
Yeah.
And I was too.
They've killed 95% of the animals that I've shot. It doesn't matter if you're shooting a fixed blade or expandable. If you make a good shot,
Hey,
the
now
deer's died.
maybe some of us like to toe that line a little bit.
I'm just saying, if you make a mediocre shot,
Yeah.
I feel way more confident in recovering an animal that's been shot with an expandable and a mediocre shot, especially if it's a back.
Yep.
Well,
Now,
that's what I was
forward, you're going to want that fixed blade.
Yep.
a mediocre shot towards the shoulder.
You
You
want a
want the
fixed blade. I agree with that.
Yeah.
For me, if I miss, I'm usually shooting back. I know that
Yeah.
because I don't ever aim. I make sure. I mean, if you go back and watch our videos, most of mine are mid-back. I don't even go for the seam. I don't go for the heart. I go for double lungs.
Yep.
That's what I shoot for. I shoot for that lung shot. I don't ever want to fool with that front side because I know.
Well, you don't have the equipment for it.
That's right. I mean, I've got my kinetic energy is as high as anybody shooting a fixed blade. But I know what those two blades do. I mean, the fixed blades do come to bone. I'm not going to do that with expandables. So if I miss, I'm missing back, and I feel comfortable with an expandable shooting back because it's going to cause more damage than a 1 inch cutting circumference or an inch and a quarter or, an inch and an eighth of what is most of your fixed blades.
Yeah.
And they're zipping right through. If you hit a deer back and you don't hit bone with the fixed blade, I mean, it's zipping through.
A lot of times they don't even know what hit them.
That's right. It's just zipping right through, and it's not ripping anything.
Well, that's one of the problems that I've found is like I love the iron wheel broadheads. I've used them for the last 6 years, and the thing is, sometimes I literally think they're zipping through so fast and they're so sharp and cutting that it just makes a slice, and it just kind of, I don't know if it
Gets
really
right back
seals
together.
up, but it kind of does. And
Yes.
and you don't see, and you can have a really good shot, and not have much blood, but then you make the same shot a second time and you have a lot more. And I've heard other people have the same thing. Now I use the wide ones now, or 1 3/8 fixed blade, which is a pretty
so
big.
right under 1.5 inches.
Yeah, so it's a pretty good.
That's a big.
And then the two little bleeders on it too. So there's a pretty big fixed blade, and I got them to fly good out to 60. So like that broadhead's kind of that's my primary one I'm using now. But yeah, I don't know. It's for me, and it's funny you said about hitting back. Whenever I've made a bad shot, typically in the past, it's been back. And that's why I was like, oh, might as well use expandables. And it's like, do that. And it's like, oh, let's slam the shoulder now. let's completely change that over.
It's like when you like I'm 100% confident if I hit one back with an expandable, I'm going to find that deer.
It's just it goes to a tracking
Experience tracking,
yeah.
and time.
Giving it, learn.
We got a Jay's deer. He made a mediocre shot. I thought he was straight punch. And Zack was saying, man, he said, I think he clipped the liver. I was like, I don't know. It looked pretty, back in that bottom triangle where the paunch is right before. I said, hopefully towards diaphragm. But when we gutted him, he clipped about that much inside the
about an
back,
inch maybe.
Back wall of the liver. But it was like you said, it zipped right through the liver and didn't cause any damage. Yeah, the deer was going to die.
Yeah.
But he didn't cause any damage. If that would have been a 2-inch expandable, he would have ripped the paunch when he went through and wouldn't have put just a 1-inch slice in the paunch.
Yeah.
But it would have ripped all that and caused so much pain.
Using? You have the 2.3 inch.
Oh, he's got something just absolutely extreme.
Yeah, you got a fixed blade on the front, and then you got.
Yeah, it's called a Rage Extreme. It's got a 2.5 inch.
Is it called an extreme?
Yeah. It's called the Rage Extreme. It's got a 2.5 inch.
Yeah, no, they're
cutting diameter.
I remember Grim Reaper did that a while back where they had like the hybrid.
That's what I shot. A hybrid. It was a Muzzy Trocar hybrid. What it was.
When you had the mess up?
Yes.
Really?
That's exactly what it was. Yep.
Now, I had a mess.
I did too.
No, I'm telling you, those extremes kill. Now, last year, I will tell you, and Zack was like, I told you you need to go to fixed blades.
I'm always that guy. It's like, I told you so.
You know, and him and Jay shoot fixed blades, but, we'd got on some wild boar and had a hog. Zack was filming me.
Read the script.
25-yard shot, hog's dead. I mean, that's a chip shot. No big deal. I pulled back, hold on him, pull, and I'm not kidding you. I looked at Zack, I said, I hit that hog. He's like, you did? He said, but the arrow hit him sideways. My arrow takes off, and it's like 5 foot over at the hog. Then it comes in sideways and slaps him in the back.
Literally
slaps the hog. He takes off. I said, I hit him. He's like, oh, yeah, you hit him. Yeah, you slapped him. He said, your broadhead didn't hit him. Well, he had a GoPro on the camera to get a second angle of me pulling back when he's filming.
Yeah.
We went back and looked at it, and as we were, because we were watching these hogs and we had to run and get set up, a blade of grass or something caught one of the blades, and it showed
one of them big,
one of those
extreme blades.
One of the big extremes was dangling, and I shot with it. Expanded.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talking about throwing her for a corkscrew, by God.
Dude, it literally, I mean, it went like that, and it slapped
the hog
sideways.
At 25 yards, it had that much effect on it.
Yeah.
And that, that
and
was
at that
bad.
point, he said some words that probably won't go on this podcast, but it was, F these broadheads, I'll break every one of them, blah, blah, blah. And he was sold on fixed blades from that point on.
Especially because, the night before, he kills a big boar hog, big boar, and he shoots it frontal at 10 steps. And, I mean, kills him in 20 yards with that single babble. And, I mean, it doesn't pass through him, obviously, because, I mean, them wild boar, they're just tougher than hell. But he went right in and pierced his heart, and he was dead. And I was like, and then that happened to me, and I was like, I'm going to fixed blades. And they were like, yeah. But then I couldn't even bring myself to it this year.
This year comes? Nope.
And then I had all kinds of problems getting them tuned in.
He had another one. So he sends this.
Yeah, this year.
This year, he's on, like, he's kind of hybrid deer hunting. If a hog comes in, great, So him and, who was it?
Jacob. They were on the ground.
They was on the ground, edge of dark. Wham, he shoots. He's like, yeah, I shot the hog and missed it this evening. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, so he sends me the clip. I watch it, and I'm like.
He said, dude.
I said, did you shoot your broadhead, Josh? He was like, yeah. I said, you're lying. He said, no, I'm not.
I did shoot him.
I said, you are lying. He said, no, he said, I shot him. I said, you shot the broadhead that you shot at that hog. You shot it into a target. Yes. I said, dude. He said it was low light and, had some problem, blah, blah, blah. It was tough to see. He said, I just shot low. I said, Josh, watch the video again. You didn't shoot low. I said, that arrow nosedived bad. And come to find out, after shooting his bow was tuned, he shot his broadheads, but then I think this is what it was. Your bow was out of time. Yeah. Your strength.
Oh, yeah,
stretched.
you told me.
Dude, I had
a bunch of problems out of it.
I mean, it just seemed like everything.
It was a couple little things that just compounded into a big, bad broadhead slide.
And it took like 3 days to get it tuned back in to where I was shooting darts again.
And then you got shooting darts, you threw it on top of your Jeep and then drove down the road and let it drag on the pavement.
Yep, that was it. Yep.
Yeah.
You are having a good year. You kind of make me feel a little bit better about mine at this point.
No, dude,
I'm just kidding.
I've had a great year. I've got to hunt with Brody the days he's been off. What we do, what anybody does that's out here filming and stuff, it ain't all hand jobs and ice cream. It ain't easy. I mean, it's a simple fact.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, I hear you.
It's not easy to kill deer year in, year out. We had our whole group had an exceptional year last year. We still got a lot of hunting to do this year, and I'm sure we'll all, find success. But when you're hunting, I mean, I think that, I was in 13, 15 days straight. And when you're hunting like that and you're not seeing big deer, I mean, I was going out and getting like 0 deer.
That's what I know.
Yeah. I mean, so my decoy, I named him Mr. O. And he was like, well, what's that for? He said, Ophir. I said, Ophir. Yeah, he said, like, O for 20. I said, oh, no. I said, that's not really what I named him. I said, he's Mr. Opportunity, Mr. Optimistic. Depends on what day. He's like, well, he's Ophir right now. And when you're having days like that.
He called me a smart ass.
Oh, yeah. And then you start getting, you sleep deprived. Yeah, it's great that we get to hunt as much as we do, but it's because of what we do. Anybody can do it. It's just that we sacrifice to do it. We work the off season so much to be able to hunt as much as we do with real work. Our families suffer, but now that's the other part of it that, none of us let suffer. I might hunt 10 days in a row, and Brody's got a JV game and a varsity game 4 of those days.
You're at him.
And I'm at him. And then I'm either grabbing him and driving back here and getting back here at 1 or 2 in the morning and hog hunting with everybody up at 4 again. Those are the struggles I've had. I mean, I had a blast, but it's mentally draining.
Yeah.
Especially when you're not seeing deer. I mean, hog hunting with a gun should be easy. And I hunted 5 days. I mean, we hunted 2 days driving and kicking them up and never jumped a hog. And most hog sign I've seen in 20 years this year. We couldn't kick one up, and there was 10 of us hunting. And then I hunted a few days by myself. That thicket we went through tonight.
Yeah.
I had hogs 20 yards of me.
I can see why.
And could not get a shot. I could hear them in there with them. Couldn't do anything. Kicked hogs up the next day. Had them in a thicket. Chased them for 45 minutes. Couldn't get a shot. So it's all the struggle I talk about isn't like a real struggle. It's just that struggle to when that clock alarm goes off at 3:30 or 4, and you saying, "Man, I'd like to lay here and warm-legged," and I do. I mean, I'm guilty of it.
That's so nice sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is nice. But most of the time I get up and I'll lay there and go, man, I think I'm going to sleep in. But then like 5 minutes later I go, Bubby.
What if?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get up.
That kills me.
Get up and get on the mountain and do what you're supposed to do.
I was telling
because the more times you're in the woods, I've always said it. We talked about it.
Yeah.
Is you're just creating, you're putting the odds in your favor to create an opportunity.
I said to the other Josh today when we were out there, he's filming me and you were texting me and you're like, hey, you gonna get out around 11 to go eat lunch. I'm like, it's like 10:53. I'm like, it's probably okay to go now. I'm like, but I I feel like every time, if I set a date or time and I leave like 5 minutes early, something happens. And the way my luck's been going, something's going to happen. I need to stay until that designated time before I even move, a fingernail or do anything before I go out. And it's just like you get that ingrained in your head. And the Sunday before I came down here is my last day in PA. First Sunday that, we got to hunt. So in Pennsylvania, you can't hunt Sundays, but they gave us 3 Sundays. Wow, it's great. So anyways, I'm like, this is day 16 at this point in a row of hunting, essentially. And my cousin had killed one. We were at camp the night before and everything. I'm like, all right. I really don't know where I'm going to go. It's the last day. What do I got to do? Set my alarm. All of a sudden, I wake up to my driveway alarm going off, and I wake up. I'm like, I see daylight, and I look out my window, and there's a 120-inch 8-point chasing doe around my yard, and I'm like, which is a very respectable deer, and I was like, okay, but I don't know. I just have like, for me with shooting deer, it also comes down. It's not just to shoot a buck. It's like the experience of it. So what I did was decided, make some bacon and eggs. And apparently I needed some sleep, and I've been sleep deprived, made some bacon and eggs, walked out, put my stuff in the truck while that buck had doe locked down like 40 yards off the edge of my yard. Got in my truck to drive out to deerless nowhere to go hunt for the rest of the day. I get to my tree, putting my bibs on to go up my saddle, set up my sticks. Here goes a buck cruising by me at like 20 yards. I'm like, I'm late to the party, and it just grinded me. But I got to a point where like my body literally, subconsciously, I shut off my alarm. I don't even remember doing it, but apparently at some point, because I had 3 alarms set, and they were all shut off,
turned off.
And I really don't remember doing it, but I obviously did. So something told me, I was like, I needed to get a little bit of rest. But it's like, if you're listening to this, you're thinking, oh man, like it must be nice to be able to do that. And yeah, it's great. Like I'm not bitching or complaining, but at the same time, when you do that, something like that for that long, it's no vacation. There's no and ifs or buts about it.
Like, take last year, I killed my buck early. It's a great stress relief for one, because we're making content. But then, like, the greatest thing was, and I'm sure you remember that cold front that came through.
Yeah.
And it was like single-digit temps. We don't get a whole lot of that here. It was 0, negatives. I didn't have to hunt that. Zack pulled like a 20-day stretch where they were in the stand every day during the cold.
Yeah, it was tough.
Every day. And then he's saying, and he don't like that morning bite. He likes hunting in the afternoons, and that's great. But
that's
it's like
warm legging time.
But he's going daylight to dark.
The colder it gets, the warmer the leg. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
But he's going daylight to dark, and he called me, man, it's tough. I'd say, baby, you just got to keep on.
He was my cheerleader. He was a good one.
You got to keep just going out there and just let your feet just numb up the first hour, and you're all right the rest of the day. But it's. I mean, I talked to Farrenball. I think the same day I talked to you, because I was down.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was last week.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to take like 3 or 4 days off. I'm just can't find them. And you and Zack were like, dude, just look in these areas, do this, it'll be fine. But then Zack and I both been fighting this damn illness or whatever. We ain't got no COVID or nothing, but just these sinuses, and it drags you down. But I stayed after it. I took Monday afternoon off, and then I took Tuesday off, and it's helped me out tremendously.
Yeah. No, and sometimes you just need that little bit. Like even like that Monday before coming, I drove down later that afternoon, but I was like, I'm going to sleep until I needed to sleep that morning. I slept till like 7:30 in the morning, got got good sleep, and I got up and packed and did all this stuff, and it was just like, just try to get yourself some rest to revive, because you're going to run yourself back down into the hole again, and it's funny because, like, when I was talking to you on the phone there, I feel like I have so much clarity with your situation, even though I'm not in it, of like, oh, I know Josh, like, he's going to get it done. Like, that's just what he does. But when you're in it, you don't see that, and you can't, like, right now I'm doing that. My dad's, so he started the same time I did, the 16 days, and he's still going, and he's this week, he's really been getting into them and just screwing up. And that's even worse when, you're the one that's screwing up. And after that many days, it just starts to, wear on you. And
well, that's what Zack was saying. I mean, you start making bad decisions.
Yeah.
When you start just getting.
Yeah.
I tried to break up an Ellie in turkey season over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like day 12 of grinding turkey hunting, and I shot and missed like an idiot.
I mean, it was like day 12 that we hadn't heard of turkey. And
we hadn't even put a face mask on.
No, we're just riding around from daylight to 1 o'clock.
Not bragging, but we're, as far as southern West Virginia, we can kill some turkeys down here. And we was struggling, and it was an error that absolutely the first few days we would not have made. We got antsy and got restless, and we just give up. Impatient, and I set my gun down. Josh turns the camera off. 3 minutes. Ow! He's literally standing in the road right here looking at us, 15 yards. So I swing. I had to get my gun. Damn near impossible on a turkey. Done all this jazz. I tore a bush down. Got up. I slammed the gun down like I just boiled over.
Yeah.
And there were some people eating me up in the comments, but there was some coming to my defense too, and they was like, we've been there, and guys will go, oh, we didn't get on here to see you throw a temper tantrum, but that same guy's probably done the exact same thing.
Yeah.
If he hasn't, he hasn't been in the woods enough.
If it's not for turkey hunting, it's deer hunting. I mean, you get out there and you start questioning whether you're doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
Should you, could have, should I do this? Should I go here? I mean, I've bounced so much, and I think it's hurt me. Just chasing, trying to find something. I mean, we got a couple deer on camera, but it's like they're nomads, and there's no pattern in here. In these mountains, it's freaking non-existent.
Well, yeah, you were, this one deer you've been trying to figure out, you were sending me all the waypoints to him, and you're like, what do you think? I'm lost. And it's just like, he's here, he's here, he's here, he's here, he's here. He's in all different dates and random times, just kind of like moving through. He's covering some serious ground, and it's hard to be able to.
But then yesterday morning, I showed you the other pin.
Yeah.
And he's, 0.8 miles from the furthest pin that I had a picture of him. He's 0.8 miles.
Yeah.
Down there yesterday morning. And then right back today.
So how I've typically tried to handle those deer, and I'm going to tell you why I said typically, is like, I've learned that, especially like when you have history with a deer, it's like, all right, he's going to show up at some point. I just need to be patient and sit in this spot and wait for it, and realizing that there's going to be deerless sits of like being in this location. And I'd say in the past that has helped, that has worked for me. This year that did not work for me. I bounced around trees. Like, I'm not saying the exact same tree, but like the same, general area, kind of playing the wind, access, however it was. And, I think I held on to it a little bit too long, as far as I should have. He wasn't obviously right there at that point and being able to move, but there's also the standpoint that the way I look at it is like, all right, if he likes this area, he's going to come through, thinking of the rut at some point to come through this pinch or whatever it is, or check this doe group. And I just got to be there, but it's really hard to.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I've talked about with fair and ball before, but it's kind of like you got to understand your own what you want out of things too, as far as like hunting. Not obviously the end result's the most important. Not the most important, but is what you're out there to do. But you got to figure out what you like to do too. Now, not everything's going to be everything you like to do, but Zack loves hunting off the ground and doing that, and he's like, yeah, I just realized I didn't really love hunting out of a tree. And if you don't love hunting out of the same tree for 10 days and you're like, I'd rather not hunt than have to do that, then it's like, okay, yeah, you don't do that.
I don't care to hunt out of a tree. I just can't hunt out of the same tree for
that's
very many multiple days.
Yeah.
I don't care to hang. I think that.
Well, they say that that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing multiple times.
Yeah.
And getting the same result.
I do that in every aspect of my life.
I did too. I did too.
I just can't. I can't bring myself to do it. It's like my thought is, man, I'm just going to go to the deer. I'm not going to sit here and wait for them, because I think if I'd hang and say, man, I'm going to hang for 15 days from the November 5th to November 20th, I'm going to get in this tree. I would probably kill that deer.
Yeah.
But not me, buddy.
One of my uncles is that way.
I'm walking this ridge. I'm going down this flat. I'm going over here trying to find him. I'm
gonna go chase these hogs over here on this point.
Yeah,
and you find him, and he's over here now.
Yeah. It's just like me hunting up on top of where I was hunting this morning. Of course, that deer had never been up. Well, he was up there in the summer, but he's not been up there. We lost him for 6 or 8 weeks, probably 6 weeks, and he showed up at a camera way far from me to this morning, and was, in daylight. And that tree there, if I would go down there and hunt that, I would probably kill him. And I know that. But I just can't do it. That's what's so hard. It's like my mental state won't let me just go get in a tree and.
See, I'm the opposite. I've done the grind.
Yeah.
The deerless sets, the knowing. I mean, I hunted a deer for 3 years. I mean, you talked about it before.
Yeah.
The big buck that I hunted for 3 years. There was more bears than there were deer. There was definitely more days that I sat and didn't see anything than I did see something. And that's saying something over a 3-year span. And I ended up one day, I had an opportunity at him. In all of them 3 years, I had one day, one morning. Didn't capitalize on it. I was self-filming, and I don't know if I had someone with me that I may have been able to do something with him. But
I got it steep.
Yeah, it was steep. It was just a bad scenario, but I've been through that grind of that.
See, I'm not doing it.
And he's not going to do it. He told me multiple times. He's like, dude, you're crazy.
And I can I don't know what it is, but in Pennsylvania, I can do it. And I just know for me, that's what yield results. Whenever I tried bouncing around and I started hear everybody talking about the new age of mobile hunting, first sit, your best sit, I've learned for me, that's not the way that I'm successful. Every time I did that, I felt like I was chasing my tail. That's just me. But then it's funny, I do this in Pennsylvania, I sit in the same spots, and then I come down here, I want nothing to do with it. I was telling Josh when he's filming me today, I was like, we're talking about what we're going to do tomorrow morning. It's like, I can either go sit in that pinch, or I can sit here in glass. I said, do you want to know what I think is going to happen out of that? I said, I go sit in that pinch, I probably have a better shot at actually killing a deer if I sit there for the rest of this week.
Right.
I said, but what I'm going to have more fun doing and probably see more and have more
on the lease,
and why I got on the lease is to go out and glass them and have a chance. I said, but I don't have a ton of experience of doing this spot and stalk thing, and I'm probably going to screw up, more times than not. Obviously, that's not the attitude I'm going to go into it. I'm, going in and try to kill them, but that's just my personal opinion of looking at it. It's like, I think I could kill. My strengths have always been sitting in one place and waiting him out and having the patience of waiting him out so that he's going to come through there and using history to tell me that he's going to come through there. But, there's also the side of it where I'm just like, I'm done with doing that this year. Like, I just don't want to do that.
I'd almost guarantee you get an opportunity if you sat there all week.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would.
You would. But you would have zero fun. You wouldn't.
No, it'd be a long week.
You wouldn't.
I mean, it might not be. It might be tomorrow morning, but then it might be the last day of your hunt.
I really
the last 30 seconds.
I'd really like to shoot one tomorrow morning and then just, go out and
I told y'all last
look
night
for a
that
doe.
I'd be out of the woods by 10 o'clock this morning. Well, when you texted and said, yeah, we'll have lunch, I'm heading out to the truck. I said, I'm going to sit here another 10 minutes because it'll take Beau a long time to get out here. So I sat till like 15 after 11 because
you still probably beat me by 30 minutes.
Oh, yeah. But it's like you're sitting there, and I know it's 11:15. I hadn't seen any activity since 8:30. But I know, that's one thing I do know, is I'm hunting for 15 or 30 seconds. All the time that I'm spending out there, it's going to happen in 15 to 30 seconds. That's going to be your opportunity, unless it's like walking, and you see them walking from way far off, which you don't get to see here. They're usually on you.
Yeah, when you're sitting, you're in the timber mostly.
Yeah, and I mean, you're hunting for a 15 to 30 second opportunity. So 15 minutes is a lot. And so when I knew you weren't coming out, Caden was like, you ready? Because, he was jittery. And I was like, we're going to sit here for a little while longer. It's going to be a while before Beau gets out there for lunch. He's like, okay. And I said, 11:15, something like that. Just that little extra just to see. Because you never do know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild to think about, and I don't know, but yeah, the fun aspect of it too. It's like, I enjoy coming out and having lunch and doing that, and it's like it's all what you kind of want.
Yeah,
that experience, and I will. There's a good chance I'll be sitting there this week, and I'd be stupid not to. But I just mean like every day, dark to dark, sitting in that spot. I just don't. I don't know if that's what I want to. I know it's not what I want to do. I'm just gonna be honest. Like, it's just not what I want to do.
So Zack could do that very easily.
Yeah, I could have 3 weeks ago.
If he knows that there's that going to be that opportunity, I don't have it in him. I mean, the guys that can do that, I've got a respect for. I mean, I've done those not long grinds like that, but like in Ohio, done 9 days straight, daylight to dark, saddle, just sitting on hedgerows waiting. And it's just like, what am I doing? Like, this ain't it. This ain't for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I respect it, and I know it'll work. I mean, I set 9 days, and on the 9th day, I got a 15-second opportunity, and I put one in the tenderloin on a 165-inch deer. That was my opportunity. I came home. I mean, but it was on the 9th day, and it happened. But
But you don't have fun doing it.
That's right. That's what I was going to say.
Back to like fair and ball. You don't like doing that. So why do it? If that's not what you like to do, although that end result is, for all of us, is to try to, harvest that animal.
Yeah.
But, if Josh likes doing it on the ground and he thinks he can get to that end result, good. If I think I'm going this direction and I can do it, I'm going to do it this way.
That's right.
Do what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right.
That's the whole thing. It's like, after that, I was like, man, I'm just not. And then I hung on that damn Twin Towers buck. and hunted, and I was like,
No, see, he didn't grind on that one though.
no, I didn't. I mean, I grinded pretty
Like
hard.
my head was spinning off.
Early season, I hunted
He was
a lot.
doing this, bouncing, and I was like, "Just get in the tree." That's what I want, But he was like, "I'm gonna go down here and do this, and I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna drop off this side." I'm like, "He's on this camera. You go to this camera," and he never would.
No, I bounced.
And then after 7 days or something, he spent 7 days up there on that mountain, pretty much. And then he's up here just rambling around, running around on the ground, spotting and stalking after whatever. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, tired of that deer.
hunted 9 days and saw 4 deer.
This dude's got brow tines this long.
I said,
I remember them.
I said, I'm not doing this no more, man. This ain't no fun.
First 15 minutes of meeting Josh, I feel like I heard about Twin Towers because it was when I first met you. I think it was the year after that happened, and it was a pretty
it was
sore spot.
It just depleted me, and
Well, that's honestly the first deer that I knew of Josh, even saying, "Hey, I'm going to kill," naming this deer. When he named it, I was like, "Oh, shit, what's going on?" You know what I mean? Because he's usually just fly by night, just, I'm going to go out here and, "Hey, that's a nice deer. I'm going to kill him," But for him to name him and kind of settle in on that one particular deer.
It's weird. I don't. I mean, I've had it over the years of finding a specific deer that I really want to hunt, and this year I was pumped because I really didn't have one. I just wanted to hunt, and then middle of October, for some reason, and I've had this deer for a couple of years. He just showed up and he just gave me this angle and this look, and and he was actually I thought really killable on a cold front in October. And I just got obsessed, and then it just carried on through the rut, and I couldn't take my mind off of this deer. And I'm sitting there and be day after day, not seeing a single deer. And I'm like, he's going to come through here. He's going to come through here at some point. And then just.
But I've seen him do it.
Here I am.
He goes and says, "Hey, I'm going to hunt this deer." And he lays on it. And after doing Twin Towers, hunting those days, I just said I'll never do it again. And the deer I'm hunting now, the reason why I'm hunting those deer now is because that's what we got to hunt for restrictions on the lease. It's not
Oh, yeah, you would have definitely done bounced.
Oh. Yeah, I mean.
Had it not been for the restrictions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he'd have adiosed a long time ago.
Yeah. I wouldn't have been laying and trying to find these deer. I would have been at the Overlook every day.
You and Beau would be out there rubbing elbows.
That's right. I'd have my camping chair popped out, spot and scope set up every day. I'm going to go chase that one today. I'm going to go chase that one until something happened. But with restrictions, there's only so many of those deer that you can say, I'm going to hunt. Now, with you coming down here, my opinion is you want to spot and stalk because it gives you the best opportunity to, one, see deer, and then, two, be able to go after them in a short span. With us, we live here. We're on the mountain just about every day. So you have an opportunity to go hang, glass. You get the whole mixture depending on what the deer are telling you they're doing.
Yeah, when Josh was coming, he's like, "What do I need to bring as far as stuff?" I was like, "Your saddle and whatever else." And I was like, to be honest, I've been here for 3 years. I haven't been in a tree yet, but there's always that opportunity. There's that chance.
Every morning, the interns ask, "What do we need?" Everything. Do you have a plan? I do have one, but it's going to change when we get on the mountain.
Yeah.
They was talking about a plan the other day, and I Googled plan.
Yeah.
I sent the Wikipedia the definition.
He said there's none of this that has Josh's name by it. Yeah, Caden and them, they killed a deer.
I know they did. That's
right
awesome.
here. Right here at the shop. And saw a bunch of deer. and they were worried about setup and stuff. And that with this creek,
Yeah.
I was like, boys, just be downstream. Doesn't matter what the wind's doing. Ain't nothing going to wash the thermals pulling this creek. That's going to pull you down. And my God, they saw a bunch of deer. First interns that ever killed deer.
Is that
here?
Is that the first one?
Yeah. Yep.
Who is the last one that really put in, or do they all put in a lot of effort?
No, honestly, these guys have got to hunt more.
Harry put in some time.
No,
Harry.
Harry did. He did.
Yeah, he hunted.
He
some.
did.
But Harry would like if for some reason, like Josh said, hey, I'm not gonna hunt this morning. I'll be over at 11 o'clock to pick you up, and we'll go on the mountain. Harry was hitting the woods. You know, he wasn't one of these that's like, oh yeah, okay, go back to sleep for a few hours. No, he was going to hit the woods.
Yeah.
And so he put in some time up there.
He did. He did.
He just didn't have no opportunities.
But he's probably hunted him and these boys here got to hunt the most. You know, when Jake and them were down here, he pretty much just grinded on the camera, and then Lane was our first one. He grinded on the camera because we only had one back then, so Lane was getting
railroaded.
Yeah. He grinded. Lane did. He was with all of us every day, and he's a grinder.
Yeah. Oh, he's a killer too.
Yeah, I mean he gets after it and stays after it. We've been pretty fortunate with the interns.
Yeah.
We've not had any like terrible ones. Even the ones that not bad, but like stuck it out. And you talk to them at the end, and you be like, "Man, you have any questions? What'd you figure out?" They go, "Josh, we figured out that this is not what we want to do. We do not want to work in the outdoor industry." I said, "Well, I told you in the beginning that you might love the outdoors, but this is a different level.
Yep.
When you're out here every day." But for the most part, all of them have done good. I mean, Harry's with Johnny.
Yeah.
Jake started his own company, freelancing. He does a lot of good things. Lane's got his own channel. It's doing good. And the guys that didn't want to do it, they just ain't doing it.
That's just as important.
Yeah.
When you don't want to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, figuring it out. I think Hagen's got his own channel. So.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well,
maybe I'll go intern for somebody.
You can come with me.
Yeah. You paying?
No.
I like him paying gigs.
Yeah, we'll see how he does. It's gotta be rated depending on his camera skills.
Yeah.
If he could sit in a tree for a long time.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, I ain't sitting there in a tree with you all day.
I have to give him credit though. He's pretty agile, and to be 50 and
dude, I ain't 50.
You're real close.
I am close.
Real close. He still does pretty good.
Oh, he does awesome. Every time I've been in the woods with him, out there crushing it.
Other than he does dye his beard there sometimes. Now.
He also crushes his knees sometimes, but
yeah.
Hey, I like just for men. Trying to get that rip look.
Hmm.
You know.
You're a little bit discolored for the rip look.
Hey, I just try to take care of it, manicure it, look the best I can look.
I can't believe none of y'all have said anything to me.
Dude, it's because you got face paint.
Well, I'm glad that you brought the face paint up because this camera is pointing right at me, and people probably think I like come right out of 9 in the mind or something.
I think you left it on there to try to show
that I went today.
That you went to some beard. It looks like you got some beard. He's got a Fu Manchu, man.
Oh yeah.
He looks like a. Did you ever watch Chips? You don't remember
Chippendales?
Pull that mic up a little bit.
Did you ever watch Chips?
Chippendale.
No, Chips, not Chippendale. Dude, you. The guy from Chippendales had one too.
He probably did.
But you ever watch Super Troopers?
Yeah.
That's what he looks like when he don't have no face paint on. He left that face paint on because you can't see his Fu Manchu. He's got these big handlebars come down. He said, I'm just trying to change my luck.
This is the first time I've seen my chin since I was 17 years old.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say you look different when you came through the door.
No doubt.
I wasn't figuring it out at first. You need to cut off the sides and just go the full rut stack.
Go stash.
It's obviously been working out for me this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I thought about just taking mine and just cutting mine.
Well, see, the deal is I didn't even know this, but Dylan Hazen, he shot us a message the other night, and he's like, I think he just kind of come up with this on his own. Maybe him and Josh.
No, we talked.
Y'all talked about it? Okay,
Yeah.
so what happens is if I kill a deer with this goofy-looking face that I've got right now, then he's got to do what I done.
But I ain't going to do that.
You have to.
I'm going to cut this off and then leave my side. My pork chops.
It looked like
pork chops.
What was that guy's name? Chris Pratt? Was that his name?
The dude off of
Speaking like he's dead.
Guardians of the Galaxy?
What?
It's Chris Pratt.
Oh, that is Chris Pratt. No,
He's a big hunter.
no, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
No, what's this guy's name? He got in some trouble hunting.
No, dude.
Chris Brackett.
No.
Yes. Do you remember what his sideburns and stuff used to
Oh,
look
yeah.
like
Big
back in the
lamb
day?
chops.
Yeah, dandies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not trying to emulate Chris Backus.
Your boy is going to sleep over here at the wheel.
Yeah, he's running on a couple hours of sleep.
Me too, man.
Yeah, we should.
Dude, you're in West Virginia. That's what it's all about.
You just got to take it all in, bro.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should probably end this. I gotta upload all this stuff tonight, and then shower and go to
It's
bed.
only midnight, Beau.
And then,
We're just getting
it is
started.
midnight, isn't it? And I gotta kill deer in the morning, and do all that dragging. So
Well, you got plenty of help.
yeah,
That's a good thing.
You're
You're not on PA public land down here. You got plenty of help.
Yeah, I know, and I appreciate that.
But like that bear this evening, y'all was on your own.
Zack made
I told him, I
executive business decision. He
I said, which way to go?
Which way to go,
he
Josh?
said, oh, he went over the hill. I said, that's not what I asked. I said, which way? He said, down that towards the holler. I said, okay, just holler at me later. Especially when he said, well, Beau's coming around, Sean's going to come around. I was like, all right, just holler at me later.
Oh, I heard you on the phone.
He wasn't wanting no part of that hillside.
No, I put plenty of miles in on it godforsaken hillside.
Well, with that being said, let's close this one off. Anyone that's listening, I would say head over to YouTube, subscribe to the Untamed if you haven't checked them out yet. Instagram, Facebook, all the places. Anywhere else that you want to direct anybody?
My OnlyFans account, if you're interested.
Oh. I just want to know what kind of content's on there.
No, you wouldn't.
No. It'd be weird.
Beau really didn't know what to say there.
Yeah, I was
A
just like,
split second, he was like, oh, Jesus.
if once I'm out, I didn't have any words to say. I was trying to think of what to say. It'd be just a bunch of ground hunting content.
Yeah. Yeah, there'd be some ground hunting content on there.
Well, Zach, Josh, thanks for coming on.
Always
fun,
enjoy
man.
it, man.
Well, it's always a good time.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of East Meets West Hunt with your host, Beau Martonik. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit eastmeetswesthunt.com, Facebook at East Meets West Outdoors, and Instagram at East Meets West Hunt. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.